A project like this is going to sell. Let me show you how to build it in under an hour. Let's go. So all you're gonna need is some scrap pieces of plywood. We're going with walnut because we've got walnut plywood and it looks nice. And then optional is some other pieces of hardwood. It doesn't need to be hardwood, but we're gonna go with walnut because the whole thing's already walnut. And this hardwood is just gonna be to cap the end grain of the plywood. You don't need to do this if you don't want to. Now, before we get any of the measurements for our cuts, what we need to do is go inside and measure our couch. So what this project is gonna be is it's gonna be a game table that goes in between the cushions of your couch. If that doesn't make sense right now, it will later. So the first measurement you need to know is how thick the couch cushion is. Make a mark there, and that's how I know how deep this goes. Since I was about 7.5 inches, we're gonna go 1 inch less than that, so that way this can go all the way down into the cushion and it's not gonna be hitting the bottom. So here I'm just getting this top cut down to the right width, which is 12 inches. And then I'm gonna cut 6.5 inches off that, and then the remainder of the piece will be my top. That's basically the project. Thank you so much for watching. If you like, I'm kidding. All right, hold on, I got sneeze. Now we're gonna cut a dado in the middle of this top piece so that other piece can just slide right in there, we can glue it, and we'll be done. Our top piece right now is 22.25 inch long. We're gonna cut it down to 22 inches, that way the middle is 11 inches. So we're just gonna go ahead, make a mark on each edge of the board at 11 inches, and then on our smaller piece, we're gonna mark 3/8 inches on the thickness of that piece of plywood, because the thickness is 3/4 inches, divide that by 2, 3/8 inches. So now we're gonna have a middle mark on the thickness of the little piece and on the middle of the top piece. Then what we're gonna do is line up those 2 marks on those 2 different pieces, putting them together, take our pencil, run it down the side of each side of that smaller piece, and then that's gonna be our line for the dado to cut out. Now I'm bringing it over to the table saw and I'm cutting on the inside of both of those lines, and I'm just going all the way, keep doing more passes, move the fence a little bit at a time until I've almost touched that mark on the other side. Then I'm gonna stop, check it a little bit, go again, check it a little bit until I have a perfect fit. So we're just gonna make sure that this is square, and we're gonna go ahead and give it some clamping pressure for a while. So this part is optional, like I said at the beginning. It just makes it look a little bit better, a little bit more professional, but this is just edge banding. So we've got some scraps of walnut here. What I'm doing first off is ripping them down to 3/4 inches thick, which is the same thickness of our plywood, obviously. And then once I've got all those pieces ripped down to 3/4 inches thick, then I'm gonna go ahead and rip those down to between 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch. Doesn't need to be perfect, they all just need to be the same. So whatever measurement you go for, just rip them all down to the exact same thickness. And then once you've got a bunch of pieces like that, you can go over to the miter saw, get them cut. For us, we are cutting 2 of them at 22 inches long, and then we are cutting 2 of them at about 12.5 because we're gonna do butt joints and we want that longer piece to butt up against those 2 pieces that are 22 inches long. And then we're gonna do 2 more that are about 6 inches long, and that's gonna be for the piece that actually goes into the couch. And then putting those on is very easy. I'm just doing a little bit of glue, I'm rubbing it in, and then I'm gonna place the piece and then use masking tape to tape it to the board. You can clamp it if you want. You can also brad nail it. Wood glue and brad nail works fine. You could also screw it in. You could dowel it in. You could just hope it stays. You could use double-sided tape. You could use duct tape. You could burn the project. You could delete our YouTube channel and never hear from us again.
You could pretend to be John's dad, pretend to be John's mom. You could look under a rock and find a snake. You could go to Costco and only buy 1 roll of paper towels. You could go look for a skateboard in the woods and find somebody climbing a tree.
All right, guys, here it is. Sanded and ready for some stains. So what are we using today, John? Danish oil. All of the Danish people are in here. So this cost about $8 worth of plywood. The walnut plywood's a little more expensive, so if you're using maple plywood or poplar or something like that, it's gonna be way cheaper, but because it's walnut plywood, it's about $8.33 actually, to be exact. And then just 1 piece of scrap walnut, which I had laying around, so that didn't cost me anything, but I don't know, maybe this is $3 or $4. You're looking at an $11, $12 project total. Of course, you got glue and clamps and stuff in there, but wood itself, $11, $12. Easy project. This actually only took me about an hour of working time. Super easy project. It's quick, it's profitable. I'm gonna be selling these starting at $50 for this basic size. But these are big custom projects, so if you're gonna be selling these, you definitely wanna get the customer's dimensions for their couch to make sure that you're selling them a product that they can actually use. But these are great because you can market them as game tables, as food tables, remote controls, cards, like anything, puzzles even. So this thing is really cool. And I'm very glad that John came up with this idea because I think this is going to be a huge seller. But yeah, guys, that's gonna do it. I really hope you enjoyed it. This is something that I wanna get your thoughts on. Delete the video. Let me know your thoughts on it, guys. If you liked it, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Comment down below any other videos you'd like us to make, and I will see you in the next one. Guys, if you like this project and this video, check out this video that John did last week. Only John, he didn't murder me. You'd get the reference if you watched it. Or watch this video. We made a bowl using only sandpaper.